I will call the meeting to order. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's good to see a full room here.
Yes.
All right, welcome everyone. Commissioner Evans, do we have some opening comments you'd like to
Thank
start
you.
out?
Yes, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're all in this together. Just a reminder, only questions or statements regarding an agenda item will be entertained under citizens to be heard at the top of the meeting. All other matters will be recognized during public comment at the end of the meeting. We'd like to thank you for trusting both me and Paul to serve you as commissioners for another 4 years. Our commitment to making Calne a better place to live for all is stronger than ever, and our vision of Calne becoming all that it can be is taking shape. Truly excited for our future together. Speaking of the future, tonight we're excited. Boy, that sounded like Chris, didn't it? Tonight. Speaking of the future, tonight we're excited for you to meet your next township manager, Don Vimazal. I've worked on that. Don is the perfect manager for us as we take the steps toward earning our motto, the heart of Chester County. On Saturday morning, Chester County Historical Preservation Network held their fall workshop, and one of the main topics was planning for America 250, our nation's semi-quincentennial celebration. Members of our Parks and Rec and Historical Commissions attended to get a head start on the initiative. Another topic was how to put on a successful program, and I was honored to present a case study of our wildly successful July Town Tour at Spackman Davis Farm. One of my CCHPN colleagues talked about the importance of high quality events to draw visitors and put heads in the beds. Well, we might not have any hotels here, but being able to draw over 300 people to a town tour for a single event sends a signal to investors, restaurateurs, craft breweries, etc., that Calne is the place to set up shop. Speaking of new businesses, welcome to Calne Precision Eye Care. Their grand opening celebration was also on Saturday. Precision is an established, successful small business that moved here from Downingtown Borough. They're located on Manor Avenue between Royal Farms and Taco Bell. Stop in and say hi. Dr. Jessica Yanelli is very cool. Reminder, when we all work together, there's nothing we can't do. Spread kindness, everyone. Anger, grudges, and resentments are not worth our time or energy. Compassion, empathy, peace, and love, these are what make the world go round.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Which will lead us to Don Vimazal. I got that right. Close enough? All right. Vimazal, all right. And Don, I just want to share this with everyone. This board, we interviewed a lot of very good candidates for this position. For some reason, we felt very connected with you during this process. That's why it was an easy decision for this board. We also got very good feedback, excellent feedback from our directors when you met with them as well. So at that moment, we knew that we had made the right decision with you. Last Thursday, you had a chance to meet up with our staff. And of course, we still received very good comments from the staff itself. So we are looking forward to having you on board here. So I would like to say, on behalf of our board, our staff, and the residents of Calne Township, we welcome you as our next township manager, effective December 4th. All right. Oh, yes. All right.
There you go. That's what we need, standing ovation. All right.
And Don, if you would like, you can take the podium and say a few words. Thank you so much.
Incredible. Thank you so much. embarrassed. I am completely excited to be here, having met with the board, met with the staff, met with residents throughout the process, and then I've lived in the township for about 2 years now. I'm just beyond excited to get started. I know there's a lot of work to get done, and I'm the type of person that really enjoys doing that work. Looking forward to working with everyone in Callan Township. Having met with the staff and department heads, I was just impressed. I walked through the door, and everyone, the energy level was so high. There's a great group of individuals, dedicated public servants. The board is committed to the future of the township, and I'm just honored and privileged to be a part of that. So thank you so much for entrusting me with this position, and I cannot wait till the 4th to arrive and get started.
Same here.
Same here.
Thank you very much. All right, and in considering our next board meeting is December 14th, and we want Don to just be hitting the ground running, we do have a request here to name Don as the township secretary starting December 4th on his first day of business.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's good. Looking forward to it, Don.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully this meeting doesn't scare you away because it's too late. It is too late. All right, next we have citizens to be heard. I'll reach out to the township building. Anyone here? No hands raised here. Denise, do we have anyone?
Mark DeYoung.
Yes, Mark.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have a couple of serious concerns that I'd like to bring up, and it falls under the agenda because this is the Township Commissioner's agenda, and it falls about a commissioner in particular. I have gone to vote with my wife respectfully for all the elections since we have moved here in 2002. The last two elections, I'll start with this one. As I'm walking down the hall, exiting the voting poll, Mark Evans, Commissioner Evans, yells out to me, "I better get back on that golf commission." To which I responded, "Mark, I'm not going to engage with you until you apologize to me for your earlier comments." His earlier comment is when he called me a troll about a year and a half, 2 years ago during a meeting. So he yells at me, "I better get back on the commission." He calls me a troll, and I'll go back one step further to the election before that, when I was walking out the door once again, past him, back turned, heading for the door. He yells out that I better make that golf course not profitable. So, and the last thing I'll say is, it's 9 days after the election, and Commissioner Evans' signs are still up. They are limited to 10 days after the election, so I assume he wants to wait till the last minute to have his name out there as long as he can. But I will not tolerate the unacceptable behavior of a commissioner yelling at a constituent as they're leaving the polls in front of other voters. It's inappropriate, it's irresponsible, and it's downright rude. So I think Commissioner
Okay, Mark.
Evans, let me finish, just one more sentence. I
Yep.
think Mr. Evans should be called out and have to do something about this conduct that he needs to correct.
Okay, well, thank you for your comment.
Thanks, Mr. DeYoung, and I just want to say I'm really glad that there was an entire table full of people with me who know that's not how it happened. So I'm sorry if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how you heard it,
this
but
is-
that's
Yeah,
all. This is a
not
meeting, so.
this is not the platform to discuss this.
Well,
Mark, did you have a
sir-
second comment?
No, that's my only comment, but it is a platform because he needs to be called out in public.
Okay, well, that's not going to happen here, and I know you said you had a second item.
Now, that was it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, Denise, I think we saw a second hand raised.
And Noel.
Well, welcome, Noel.
Hello, everyone. Hello. I just wanted to ask, Ken, is there a way of you showing the people in the Zoom world who our new manager is. I'd like to see his face and welcome. But I would like to see him, please.
Can we get that camera working? Action shot. You had it moving earlier.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I could
Oh.
see like it moving earlier.
Nice picture, Noel.
Thanks. It's okay. I just, I would, I did see it in the newsletter and everything. I just thought it would be nice.
You want a live version of them. That's
Yeah,
what
like
it-
wherever the camera is, can maybe he just go and stand in front of it? I know that sounds silly, but hey, this is what I want to see.
Is it working?
You can always come up here and stand,
Oh, it's that okay. I see it in the corner. There you go. How's that?
Aw, thank you. Welcome. You can't see me waving, but welcome. And thank you for doing that. That's all.
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess the camera's stuck now. Okay, was there anyone else online? Okay. No other hands raised? All right, well, concludes our citizens to be heard. Next on the agenda, Township Solicitor, Ms. Camp.
Thank you. 3 things. First is a public hearing to consider an amendment to your subdivision land development ordinance. So because it is a public hearing, I just want to go through a couple of exhibits and make sure that they're noted in the record for the minutes. The first is a proof of publication. Tonight's hearing was advertised in the Daily Local News on November 1 and November 8th, and I have the proof of publication as Board Exhibit 1. The second is an email that my assistant sent to the Chester County Law Library and the Daily Local enclosing a copy of the ordinance for inspection that was sent on October 13th, 2023. The third one is that the Township Planning Commission reviewed this ordinance at their meeting on August 15th, 2023, and recommended that the board adopt it. And then the fourth is a letter from the Chester County Planning Commission dated August 24th, 2023. And the County Planning Commission did not have any real substantive comments and basically said they support the adoption of the amendment. So Ray and I worked on this amendment, and it really was to try to streamline the process for when subdivision and land development applications come in and the process for collecting escrow. So it's really 2 different stages. When somebody submits the plan for approval, there's the review fees that you incur by your consultants. So that requires an escrow deposit. And then there's also when the land development plan is released to be recorded and the construction commences, there's an inspection escrow that needs to be established because you're sending your township engineer to go and inspect the construction as it's being conducted. So we wanted to separate that out in the subdivision ordinance to make it clear that it's 2 different fees, 2 different escrows. The actual amount of the escrow we'll bring before you in a future meeting in a resolution to adopt those actual fees. But this is really just to amend the SAUDO to clarify that there are 2 different types of escrows. And then the second section of the ordinance was something that came about when the apartment development that's being built now, there was a request to go ahead and start building the buildings from the ground up without the fire hydrants being in place. And Ray felt that that was a safety concern, had asked my opinion on it, and we felt that it was something we needed to add to the subdivision ordinance, that you are not permitted to go ahead and construct the buildings up until the fire safety provisions, the fire hydrants and the water line is installed. So that's just a safety measure. So that's the second part of this ordinance, is to make that clear in the subdivision ordinance that has to happen. So that's a summary of the ordinance. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has. And again, Ray worked with me on this, so I think he's comfortable with the proposed changes.
Sounds good. Commissioners, any questions?
Just one question. So, if you currently have a land development plan in place, does this affect you? Or is this like zoning where the regulation comes with a new application?
I mean, I think they're already having escrows, but as far as what we're really trying to get to is the next part of this, the resolution where we establish what those are. I think there was a point where the township wasn't having enough money in an escrow account to be able to pay the consultant bills. So this is putting this in place. It will apply to, we could apply it to a subdivision that's currently in your being reviewed, and if it gets approved, then the provisions will be there for the inspection escrows to have to be set up.
And do you have a ballpark of what this escrow would be?
Well, that's a conversation piece, and that's why we don't have that ready for you to discuss. And there's developers council here that they've had a differing opinion on what we're permitted to do under the municipalities planning code. So we're continuing to have that dialogue. What our suggested escrow was going to be based on the amount of the cost of the public improvements, and we were going to do like a sliding scale. So if it was less than $1 million, we were going to suggest that it should be 3% of the cost. If it was greater than $1 million, we were going to suggest that it be 6%. In some big projects, for example, Hills of Thorndale Woods, that's what we had suggested be placed into an inspection escrow. And the developer on that one, where I can't remember what the amount was, but it was a lot. And they basically said, like, from a financing standpoint, they didn't have that much liquid cash to post with the township. So we're trying to find a balance between, because what happens is if they're getting a construction loan, they don't get that money all up front. They get it in stages as they complete portions of their development. So Ray and I are continuing to have a conversation about what is a sufficient amount that the township is covered, and there's a guarantee the costs will be paid, but also understand the reality of how these developers are getting their money to be able to fund their construction. So we think we'll come back, but we actually wanted to have Don's, input on that. He's been at different municipalities. He probably has some experience on that, and we'll come back to you, at a future time for the numbers. But as far as setting the ordinance in place, we'd like to get this adopted.
So how does that work if you have no fee schedule attached to that?
Well, you do have a fee schedule now.
Okay.
You have a fee schedule now, and you're required to post escrows. It's just we're asking that be very clear that it's a plan review escrow versus an inspection escrow.
Okay.
And that the dollar figures we're going to change. We're going to ask that you to change at a future time.
So there already is a fee currently.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But your saldo didn't differentiate between. It just said you get to get your costs reimbursed, but we didn't really have it as clear as it could be to show that there are two different escrow deposits, if that makes sense.
All right, no other questions? Public.
I'd be more
you did.
comfortable
Mhm.
with this once we have found, worked that sweet spot out. I'd be more comfortable voting on it at that point. I wouldn't be comfortable voting on it tonight.
Okay. Well, we could, if you would want to just close the hearing then, and maybe continue the hearing to your December meeting, and that will give us time to work through that. That's fine. I mean, one can go without the other because you already have fee scheduled, but if you want to wait, that's fine too. I just don't want to have to re-advertise because it's an expensive cost to re-advertise.
And it's already been advertised.
It's been advertised for tonight. That's correct.
But if we continue the hearing until the December meeting, we don't have to re-advertise.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
And, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Motion to continue?
So moved.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Continued.
So that
Thank
we'll
you.
continue that dialogue. Thank you. The second thing is, and this is a continuation or a sort of a housekeeping item that when the board approved the land development plans for the Kmart redevelopment, one of the conditions of approval was that the applicant or the owner of the property grant to the township an easement for where the sidewalk is being located. If you recall, the developer asked that the sidewalk not be in the right of way of Lincoln Highway, there was some topography issues, there were some utility problems. So they wanted to put the sidewalk actually on their private property, and the board allowed that to occur, provided that the applicant grant a public easement for the use of the sidewalk. So I put before the board up there tonight the location of the sidewalk and the location of the easement. The applicant's counsel prepared an actual access easement agreement that I have reviewed. I find it to be acceptable, and I'm just asking you to accept it. We would ask, Paul would have to sign it, and then either myself or we'll get it back to the developer's council to record, so that it basically, what is shown on this plan can be used by the public as a public sidewalk.
Commissioners, any questions on this?
I've seen this before. Is there any way we can get this up on the screen? No? It's all right. It's okay. I'll bring my magnifying glass next time.
I
For,
will say,
for what, to see the location, you mean?
Where all the breaks are.
So the linear line all the
Mhm.
way across the zone.
Right.
And so they're granting us an easement so that we can use the hashtag is road.
And
And
is there like some stairs or something coming up to here?
I don't
on the corner, no.
No, not anymore?
No, that was the original plan from the other
Okay.
developer.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful sidewalk.
Yeah.
I've driven by it several times. They did an outstanding job with the telephone pole over by Little Anthony's.
Yeah,
That little Anthony?
I actually have received several phone calls, believe it or not, about how the sidewalk looks.
Yeah.
Positive.
No, they did a great job. And then I saw the tree line over by Domino's on the inside of the track there.
Yeah.
So that was beautiful.
Yes, I saw that.
All right, so this is just an easement, so that way our pedestrians can actually use it.
That's correct. So we would need a motion to authorize the president to sign the easement agreement and accept the
Alright.
easement.
Question? Oh, I was gonna ask public, residents here in the township building, any questions on this? I see no hands raised. Any in Zoom world? None at this time. All right, entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, well, Jane had already motioned, so I'm
okay.
gonna
They've not heard
give
it.
it to her and second by Commissioner Young. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion's good, 5-0.
Thank you. And Denise, you do have the original, so make sure that Paul signs the original. I do need the originals back to record. Thank you. And then last, we have the consideration of the conditional use decision for Prosperity Investments. It's actually Prosperity Property Investments LLC, which is a mouthful. The board held a conditional use hearing on September 28th, and then also again on October 12th. And this is for a daycare facility at the location of 3025-3035 Zinn Road. I circulated a draft conditional use decision in order, which would grant conditional use approval, and I'll quickly read through the proposed conditions. So number one, first of all, beyond just the conditional use, which is section 155-26C6 to allow the building to be used as a daycare, this proposed order also approves modifications. So this is in the Lincoln Highway overlay, so it allows the board to grant modifications to otherwise applicable requirements. So the first is to grant a modification to section 155-43G5. I'm sorry, 155-70D4C to allow the fence to be 6 feet in height around the playground. For some reason, your daycare regulations specify that the fence can only be 4 feet, I believe. The zoning hearing board approval actually required that the fence be 6 feet, so they're sort of caught in this betwixt and between. So I think the board felt comfortable with a 6-foot fence. And then the second one was to, again, your daycare section requires that the play area be a lawn or a grass area, and they propose to use turf. So they're requesting for a modification of that. The proposed conditions are that the daycare be built and developed in accordance with all the evidence and testimony presented at the hearings. The next one is that the 2 parcels have to be consolidated. The plan must be revised to comply with the consultant's last review letters, which is a Arrow letter of August 15th and a Pannoni letter of October 3rd. Applicant must obtain all necessary permits from the township and any other applicable government agencies in order to use the building as a child daycare. The maximum occupancy of the daycare shall be 150 students. Applicant must install all improvements which were depicted on the revised plan that was presented at the last hearing, as well as the following: fencing around the stormwater facility, privacy fencing around the outdoor play areas, traffic control signage on the interior of the parking lot, vehicle impact bollards or stanchions around the play area fences. And they'll address all of that through and raise approval of those improvements. The next one, any exterior lighting fixtures have to meet the Illuminating Engineering Society illumination standards for commercial uses. The next one, applicant must install signs in front of the parking spaces along the northern side of the daycare building and along the northern edge of the parking lot that designate and reserve a minimum of 10 spaces solely for drop-off and pickup of children. No buses are permitted to drop off children at the daycare center. Applicant must assign employees to assist with children crossing the parking lot to gain access to the 2,600 square foot play area, and that play area is not permitted to be utilized between 6:30 to 9:30 a.m. or between 4 to 6 p.m. The trees located on the northern property boundary of parcel 39-4-91.16A and all existing trees on the other parcel have to be preserved to the extent possible to provide a landscape buffer between the property and Geo Carlson Boulevard. And then all of these conditions would be binding upon any future owner of the property that continues to operate the daycare. So those are the proposed conditions that are suggested for the board if you're willing to grant the approval. I have reviewed this with the applicant's counsel, Allison Zaro, who's here in the audience. The applicant was fine with those conditions.
Commissioners?
I'm going to recuse myself since I did not participate in the first conditional use. I'll be abstaining.
Any other comments from commissioners?
I think that all these conditions will be met and approved.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I did have one comment. I'm not sure if it can be answered here. But it does state that the daycare will not conduct special events where all students and their families would be at the facility at one time, because that would be a consideration as far as the parking issue.
And remember, we had asked that question of, and I'm forgetting your applicant's, the witness who was the operator basically, and she indicated that they can't, that they don't do that, that they go off site to a larger location if they ever do that.
All right. No questions from commissioners. I'll ask residents. Any questions? None at this time. Zoom world. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the conditional use decision for the Prosperity Investment LLC.
So moved.
So moved. Second. Do we not have a second?
If I'm abstaining, can I second?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm not understanding. Paul can second too.
Concerned about some other conditions?
Yeah, Paul, you can second.
Okay, well, I just want to hear. Yes.
Right. They'll be met. I'm sorry, Jane. They'll be met before any use and occupancy will be granted. I mean, they have to comply with all these conditions, and that's part of Ray's job is to make sure that before use and occupancy is granted, before this building is opened, that all these conditions are met. And that's something that I know that Ray's puts a lot of effort and time into making sure. So we don't go through these hearing processes and come up with these unless, we make sure that we have the enforcement component of it as well. And not only before they get a use and occupancy, Jane, but if at any time any of these conditions are not being met. So for example, they take the trees down or they don't have, you see that the playground area is being utilized in the hours that it's not allowed, that's a zoning violation. And a notice of zoning violation is issued. and they have a time period to abate that violation, or they're subject to fines of $500 a day. So this is just as if these conditions were part of your zoning ordinance. And for so long as that daycare is operated there, these must be met.
So if that crosswalk ever became a real serious issue, it's right there.
We would address it. I mean, that,
Would
but
there be
not only would,
a gate there that, you know, that
Yeah, I
closes
mean,
that or-
yeah, I think you have to realize that if something were to happen, I think the daycare themselves would take it upon themselves to try to solve a problem.
Right.
You had your traffic expert tell you that he did not believe it would be. I mean,
Mhm.
we know the board was concerned about that, and we reached out to your traffic expert. So we're relying upon his last letter that indicated that he felt that the way they were proposing this was going to be safe. Also, I mean, that's part of what they have to show. They have to, demonstrate that they have the bollards or the stanchions and everything that's going to, ultimately it's going to go back to Ray, and Ray can go back to Mike, the traffic engineer, and say, like, this is what they're proposing to specifically put there. Does this meet your approval?
So would it be too late to ask for, one of those security gates similar to what they use at the high school during the times when the children are going across?
It's not too late. This hasn't been voted
That
on.
was
So
one-
if
that
that's
was the only
something that the board,
Thinking about was, to control any traffic, from impeding in that area while the children are going from the building over to the playground, if there was one of those security gates
like some sort of
installed.
movable
Yeah,
gate.
so that you don't even have the risk or the question of a car moving at that time.
Mhm.
Would that be too much to ask?
That was one of the reasons I was so concerned about the driveway situation
Right.
where you have
Where they're
two-way
crossing?
traffic on one side and one
Mhm.
way on the other. But I mean, look, you all decided that you were fine with it, and if it's,
Well, it sounds like you're not all fine with it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I mean,
that's-
this
Yeah.
you do have to act on this tonight because we're within the time frame that
Right.
you have to act. But if you want to suggest another condition and somebody else agrees to it, I mean, the applicant's counsel's here. I'm not sure. And I just asked Ray,
Right,
where would that gate be connected to?
yes.
And maybe it's something that the applicant grants some additional time for us to talk through that issue. I want you to be comfortable, and I want the approval to be that the board is comfortable giving this approval. So
Okay.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, good evening. Allison
Hello.
Zara on behalf of the applicant.
I,
I mean, we're certainly willing to grant more time if that's needed to figure this out. I mean, I also just listening to the conversation, maybe it's not something as, and I don't know what the gate they have at the high school is. I don't know if it's a mechanized gate or what it is, but even if there's something that becomes a protocol where there's, like a
Almost like a Jersey berry, but not as heavy.
I'm
Right,
thinking
right.
of, one of those sawhorses. Is that the word I'm thinking of? Where you
Yeah.
put that stuff out. So there's some physical barrier
Barrier,
there while they're
something.
walking across, even if it's not something mechanized or permanent. They can place it out there in the crosswalk. Then everyone that's would be potentially pulling into the site would see that visual. I think that's what you're getting at, not just people.
Something more
Yeah,
And I talked
more
open.
visible.
I
Yeah.
talked about, you see children at play, and they're like the little inflatable, I don't know if they're inflatable, but they're like the yellow little guys that say children at play. I know that's not going to stop a car, so that's not going to make you satisfied.
Car wouldn't
But
even-
it should be something, I
Something.
would think it'd be something that is portable and can be physically moved during the time frames that you're concerned about. So, I mean, it's up to you whether you want us to take the time and come back to this at the next meeting to talk through specifically what you could do and what your client's willing to do, and then propose that to them, or unless you want to just have it be more vague to say that applicant shall install some form of physical barrier.
I think that would be fine.
Move
I don't-
a
yeah.
physical movable barrier.
Something,
Yeah,
just,
and that's fine. I think. I mean, that's completely.
But what time frame, Jane, are you looking for? Just the time frame of the mornings? Can be like the 6:30 to 9:30 time frame?
well, they would probably have to decide that because you said the children, when they go over to the playground, they have to come across that,
Yeah, I mean, I think
crosswalk.
it's almost more not so much the time. It would be when they're actually crossing.
Using it, when
Oh,
they're
I
Regardless.
see what
when
you're
they're
saying. I see what you're
crossing.
saying.
Right.
Okay. Prior to the children being
Yeah, so it's
brought
like
to the.
what Jane is saying is, hey,
Got it.
we're about to cross this.
We need
Teacher
to put
goes
up
out,
some
puts a
barriers.
physical barrier out there. We all cross. Teacher removes physical barrier when everybody's across. I think that's what we're
I
getting
see what
at.
you're saying.
Could be
Okay.
like a rope, like
Yeah.
chain rope on
Whatever it is.
something.
Yeah. And then it's not limited to a time frame because it's really based
just
on
when it's been
when
in
the kids
use.
are there. Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, we can add that as a condition. That applicant shall install a physical movable barrier across the entrance driveway from Zinn Road at
During
any time.
playground
Yeah.
activities.
Does that satisfy? Is everybody comfortable with
Yeah.
that change and addition?
Yeah,
Okay.
That would satisfy me.
So, Lorraine, would you like to make the motion with that addition?
Oh, we have a hand
Oh.
raised? Yes. Come on up.
Hi, Chris Parr, 582 Lloyd Avenue. I want to thank you very, very much for bringing that up. I did discuss some of the commissioners here. That is a huge concern of mine, and I have seen scissor gates. If they could just put scissor gates up on both sides of that crosswalk, and every time the children come out, the scissor gate gets put up, scissor gate once they cross. It has nothing to do with the traffic, it's children running away.
Yeah.
If you have 150 students and you've got 15 to 20 children in a classroom with only 2 teachers, it's very difficult to control a 2 and a 3-year-old going across the parking lot. This is such an unusual situation, and I feel very strongly as a grandparent, parent, and a resident. So I'm so happy that you're bringing this up, and thank you. I think that would be the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris,
Ms.
thank you.
Parr.
Thank you, Chris.
Good point.
If I could just clarify, at the testimony at the hearing, it would be more than just the 2 teachers that would be accompanying them, just.
Well, and also the condition requires that they have additional staff when the kids are crossing. They have to.
It's part of the condition.
It's part of the condition.
Depends on the ratio.
Well, there was testimony that was provided at the hearing. I don't obviously.
Good.
So they, I mean, at the end of the day, the testimony that was provided is that there are other staff on site that are then assigned to assist with that. But I think the point being that we certainly will install a physical barrier during the crossing.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. And if I understand correctly, the students that are using the outside playground area is the older group?
That's correct.
Not so much the toddlers?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I mean, they're
yeah.
still toddlers, but
I
they're
mean,
the
you
older
still have
toddlers.
kids that run everywhere, but you just don't, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So still, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Physical.
Yeah.
think, yeah,
Thank
the
you, Jane.
scissor
That's a good
gate
suggestion.
or something
Yeah.
like
The
this.
scissor gate, if we can do the scissor gate, I'd be ready to move forward. with
Yes.
this.
Yeah, every time I read the speed bump was a deterrent, if they're already at that speed bump, the kids are gone, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think the scissor gate might actually solve all our issues.
Should we use the word scissor gate? Or do
I
you
don't
want-
know exactly what
I
that
don't know
is
what that is either.
personally, so.
I know what it is. I mean,
Look
the
it up.
problem is I don't know if they can accomplish a scissor gate on either side. I mean, you can recommend that if feasibly possible.
Yeah, so why don't we add that language?
Yeah,
If
that's fine.
feasible,
Yeah.
prefer yeah.
Scissor gate or something comparable.
Okay.
How does that work?
Thank you for that recommendation. Okay, so we still need somebody then to start over the motion and a potential second.
We'll second.
Lorraine, do you mind redoing the motion with that added condition?
Say motion
Motion to move
With that added condition?
with the added condition.
with the added condition.
Okay, thank you, Lorraine.
Sure.
And then Jane, you'll second.
Second.
Okay,
All right, all in favor? Say aye.
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 thank you guys very much.
Thank
for
you
that.
very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Allison.
understanding.
Working with us.
Appreciate that.
So
So
that
then-
is all I have on my agenda. And again, Don, I'm really looking forward to working with you and enjoy the next couple weeks. Everybody have a great holiday.
You
Oh,
too.
you too.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. It's around the corner. Next on the agenda, Ross, what do we got?
Good evening. Yes, I wanted to just give you a quick update on the Reed Street project, where last month, you probably recall we discussed the change to raise some of the pipe systems to avoid a lot of rock removal. And I'm pleased to report that we, as of just today, we think we're through the area where we're going to encounter rock. And by raising the system, it seems to me, based on our estimates, that we would have been well over our budget on rock to now we are within our budget for rock removal. So I think that was very successful. And then, so then the other actual topic for action tonight for your consideration would be the pay application number 4 from the contractor, which is Foresight Concepts for the Reed Street project. And that's in the amount of $185,548.43. And that's for work completed through November 6th. And I think they've been making some good progress out there on construction of the storm drains and sanitary sewers. So we're pretty happy with that. And we recommend the payment application number 4 be approved.
Commissioners, any question on this payment?
No.
Residents? Anybody in the audience? I do not see any hand raised. Anybody in Zoom world? All right, entertain a motion to approve the payment number 4.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Tindaro. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion's good, 5-0. Thanks, Ross.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good holiday. You gonna stick around?
I'll stay for a little bit longer. Yep.
Okay. All right, next, Mr. Stackhouse, what do we have?
Yeah, I'd ask Chief Gower to come up to speak to this subject in front of the board.
Welcome, Patrick.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
So I'm here again. I know last month we put a proposal, for the new rescue truck. This month, putting a proposal in front of the commissioners for the purchase of a new utility truck to replace our current Squad, which is a 2006 Chevy Suburban, and a 2003 F350 utility body that was donated from the sewer department to us back in 2012. So we basically would be replacing this new unit, basically 2 units to 1. So cost savings overall, obviously insurance and things like that. So that's a huge money back in the pocket, hopefully over the long term. But like I said, it's just a standard utility 4-door Chevy Silverado 3500 with a custom fire body, or I'm sorry, not a custom fire body, but a custom body on the rear to meet our needs today. To serve as a backup traffic unit with a DOT compliant error board for obviously the 30 bypass, since it seems like we're on that very frequently.
Yeah.
So, any questions?
This is within our budget. I
Yeah.
mean, we have the funds already set aside for this, right?
Absolutely.
Correct, okay.
And all pricing is CoStarz, because that's might be another question.
Now, my other question, are you gonna give Scott back his truck?
If he wants it, he can have it. He might need to install some new running boards because they rusted out.
Oh, wow.
And it may need towed over any given day.
That's not that bad.
So do those old vehicles have to go on municipal bid or just?
Well, they're both in the
So both are under the fire company
Okay.
name. So it would just be the larger vehicles the township is they're titled to. But more than likely, yes, we would probably in a company meeting look to sell it on municipal bid, things like
Get
that.
something. You
Sounds
guys are
good.
gonna be looking pretty good out there on the road with this new fire truck and now
Yeah.
with this Silverado.
Looking sharp, looking like a real fire
Nice
department.
boy toys, huh?
The crews are very excited. I mean, I brought a crew with me, so
That's good. That helps their morale a lot. To have,
Exactly.
you know, the security.
but also serves the public, obviously,
As well.
for our needs.
That's the main thing.
All right. Commissioners, any questions on this purchase?
No,
Nope.
needed.
Yes, we do. Residents, anyone here? Nobody in the township building? Anybody in Zoom? All right. Well, and I will entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the 2024 Chevy Silverado.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Third.
Moved by I lost track, you know. Denise, did you get all that?
Bonnie.
1,
Okay.
2.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Hey, motion's good, 5-0.
Thank you.
And Patrick, I spoke with Representative Frilotten's office today. They will be calling you this week.
Perfect.
They found some funds that are due our fire company. So
I like hearing that.
yes. Oh
Every little bit helps.
yeah.
Excuse me. All right, Mr. Stackhouse, what do we have on second?
Yeah, Commissioners, the next thing is a request for board consideration to approve and authorize the board president to sign Gilmore and Associates PSA number 23090015 for the Calhoun Township Stormwater Capital Improvement Plan in the amount not to exceed $120,000.
Okay, Ross, I did read in there that if you come with under budget hours, that you will not bill us the full amount.
That's correct. So our contract is set up as a not to exceed. So we would just be billing on our hourly rates as we work through the work. And if we say we finish up everything we're supposed to do and it's only $107,000, that the billing stops there. It's not a lump sum. It doesn't just get marked up to 120.
You always take care of us in the sewer department, so I know you're good for it. All right.
Appreciate that.
Commissioners, any questions?
No.
Where, just one question, where are we taking this from budget? Is this for next year's budget too? That's
Yes.
okay.
Oh, yeah, it's for 2020.
Okay, then I think I know where.
I know.
It just to add to that, actually, this will be a continuation. The previous PSA we had for stormwater capital planning, we had one with Arrow. We kind of accomplished those objectives of that PSA. So this would be the PSA to continue on with that in 2024.
And the ultimate goal is it would be like the road replacement plan where it prioritizes.
Yep, that's correct. The step we're at right now, under the previous PSA, was to do some field observation and mapping, and put those data points on a map. That portion was accomplished. We transferred that over to Gilmore, and Ross started reviewing that. After his review, he put this PSA together. Now we'll go out and do some specific field observations, some lamping, and start exactly what Commissioner Young said. We'll evaluate those structures and try to give them a category so that we can start figuring out which ones we need to address.
All right. No other questions from commissioners? Residents? None at this time in the building? None online? All right, entertain a motion to approve board president to sign the Gilmore Associates, the PSA 23090015 for the Stormwater Capital Improvement Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Tindera. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Motion's good, 5-0. Next.
The next one is request for board consideration to approve and authorize board president to sign Gilmore and Associates PSA number 23090031 for the Calhoun Township MS4 program in the amount not to exceed $46,500. This again is for 2024 MS4 oversight.
All right, commissioners, any questions?
No.
Simple. All right, residents? None here in the township? None online? All right, entertain a motion to approve and authorize the board president to sign the Gilmore and Associates PSA 23090031 for the MS4 program.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tindera, second by Commissioner Kennedy. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion's good, 5-0.
It's worth noting that PSA for the MS4 program is about almost $10,000 cheaper than it was last year from the
For pointing that
past
out.
PSA.
Thank you.
The next one's a request. Double check where I'm at here. Request for board consideration to authorize payment application number 3 in the amount of $170,857.04 payable to Longs Asphalt Incorporated for the 2023 road program work completed through October 27th.
Are they finished? with
So
the
yeah,
program?
the next item is actually the final payment. They just, we were able to get them both on this agenda.
Oh, okay.
And this comes out of highway funds, right? Or
Liquid fuels, correct.
And we were in budget for that.
Yes, we were actually a little bit under budget because of some of the roads we were going to pave ended up being paved by either the water company or as part of the Reed Street in coordination with the Reed Street.
Excellent. Yeah.
Very smart coordination there.
Yeah.
No, it was dumb. It was completely dumb luck. Trust me.
Yeah. All right, commissioners, any questions on this payment?
No.
Residents? Questions? None here in the township building? None online? Entertain a motion to approve application number 3 in the amount of $170,857.04 to Long's Asphalt.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Tindaro. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Good, 5-0.
The next one's request for consideration to authorize final payment application number 4 in the amount of $27,738.61 payable to Longs Asphalt Incorporated for the 2023 road program. And yes, that is the final payment.
Commissioners, any questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Kennedy, second by Commissioner Evans. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Which is good, 5-0.
The last one's request for board consideration to approve and authorize the board president to sign a 1-year lease agreement for Griffith Farm located at 3401 Kings Highway in the amount of $31,356 per annum, with the first payment of $15,678 due and payable prior to commencement of the lease term, obviously prior to us giving the executed back to them, and second payment of $15,678 due and payable on or before July 1st, 2024. This cost and the agreement hasn't changed over the last couple of years that I have seen. They did, as per the agreement requirements, they did provide their $1 million liability insurance and their pesticide list.
Good to see that. Commissioner Evans did have a comment about the name.
Yeah, this is just housekeeping, minor possible housekeeping. It's when I started here, there were like 4 different names for this farm,
Yep.
and we kind of settled in on Spackman Davis, and everyone at the county knows it as Spackman Davis. And can that at least be added to the language as an AKA Spackman Davis Farm or something like that? Or what does it have on the actual deed?
I think Griffin's Farm.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
That's the problem, but we can, for this one, just because we're already in the middle of executing.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'll do is we'll make a notation, see if we can't change the lease name for the next.
Yeah, because I don't want to hold this up at all.
Sure.
This is a
Okay.
great thing.
Yeah, I seen that right away. Actually, to be honest with you, I had to think about it when I saw it on there.
I know.
What's the historical sign out front?
Spackman Davis.
It does say
Yeah,
Spackman
yeah.
Davis. Okay.
And this is where former Commissioner Cruz was always helpful, is that he knew what the bushel of soybeans went for and how much an acre. So just
Well, and I did just, I kind of just found out about this. I mean, we probably really should evaluate it because, like you said, my guess is that this may need adjusted.
he was always great at that. He would know that it was so much a bushel and that an acre yields this much, and he could actually probably the last time it was raised was when Commissioner Cruz
Yeah.
was still here.
Maybe next year we can ask him to cut a little corn maze through it for us in October.
Right.
We're good for this year.
All right. All right, commissioners, any other comments, concerns? And at this time, residents here in the township building? I see none. Online? None at this time. Entertain a motion to approve and authorize the lease agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Young. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's good, 5-0. Thank you, Ray. Okay, under ordinance and resolutions, the first two are actually based off of our budget presentation, so why don't we leave those two for after the budget presentation? Item number three is the request for board consideration to approve resolution 2023-24 authorizing the police department to apply for the statewide local share assessment grant in the amount of $42,557.59 used for the purchase of electronic records management system. Anybody wanted to elaborate on this?
Just want to say, I am so thrilled to see an LSA. I mean, I can't tell you, like, these are grants that have been like at the front of my mind recently, and like they're no match grants, and they're there and they're available. I don't like. Congratulations.
We gotta get the application in, so.
Yeah.
Gotta move. Right, and get
Yeah.
Oh.
So the application for this and the following one are due by November 30th. Part of the grant application process is the board has to pass a resolution. So that's the final piece of it, and as soon as I have the signed resolution, I'll submit both grants. 90% done at this point.
Okay.
Sounds good. Commissioners, any questions on item number three?
Nope.
All right, residents? I do not see any hands raised here in the township building, online? None at this time. Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-24.
So moved.
Second,
So exciting.
yes.
So moved. Okay, moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's good, 5-0. And the second one, 2023-25, is the LSA grant number 2 in the amount of $126,027.62 to purchase 2 police 2024 Ford Responder vehicles in the year 2024.
Do it.
Questions? Okay, residents, questions? None at this time. Online? All right, entertain a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Kennedy. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All right, run with it. You.
So we're on a roll. So, the next one's a request for board consideration to approve resolution 2023-26, authorizing the township to apply for the LSA grant in the amount of $78,510 to be used for fire company renovations, and authorize Lisa Swan, Finance Director, to execute all documents and agreements between Township and the Commonwealth Financing Authority. This is, the fire company approached us. They need to upgrade the generator for the fire company buildings, and the signage on the building is disintegrating, falling apart. So, since they're, technically a subdivision of the township, we have to, do the resolution for that as well.
Commissioners, any questions?
Again, LSA. This is
No
great.
matching.
No match.
All right, residents, any questions? See none here in the township building, none online. Entertain a motion to approve
So
resolution
moved.
20, okay, so moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion's good, 5-0. Good luck.
Go get them.
Next on the agenda, minutes to approve. We have the October 26th Board of Commissioner meeting minutes. Any additions, corrections needed? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion's good, 5-0. Minutes have been approved. No planning commission minutes. Finance Department, Ms. Swan, you have a check run? Check number 51,040 to 51,125, and a manual check of 296. Anybody have any questions on the check run?
No, everything looks good.
I don't see any circles. Nope, I think we're
No.
good. Okay, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Tindaro. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Check run has been approved. Request for board consideration to approve and authorize the board president to sign a 5-year contract with the Chester County SPCA. Yeah, let's discuss that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they had raised their rates from 5 years ago. Just to give you an example, baseline contract fee, 5 years ago was $1,639, and now they're asking for $5,600.
Big difference.
Huge jump.
So why is it that we have to call the police department if we get an angry dog?
Yeah.
And the SPCA, they're not responding, to these calls. We're paying them.
What's happening?
Yeah, we had two, they're very sweet. I feel bad, but they're the two large dogs that had been, people were posting about for months on some of the social media, and they came out of the woods behind our house. And they were starving, and we fed them, and we called the SPCA, and they said, we can't come unless the police call. Seriously. So I called the police. This is what they're telling me. Took them an hour and a half, I think, to get out there. And then when they got out there, we ended up having to figure out the smart way to get the dogs into the van. The guy was actually saying, if they're not in the van in 5 minutes, I'm leaving. Like,
Is it for anyone?
yes. And, oh yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah. There you go, Mike.
It's not you, believe me. I know it wasn't anything to do with you guys. It was just,
Yeah, I get the bill and I verify to make sure
Yeah.
that the location was actually in Callan Township and that we're not being billed for another
Yeah.
municipality, but in most of those situations, we're never involved,
Yeah.
and if a resident picks up a litter of kittens, you're being charged head count for however many they drop off there.
Yeah.
So that's why the bills are as high as they are.
and they're telling people when they call on the weekend that if the police don't call them, they're not coming out. And I know that's not true. So, I mean, that they're not required for the police to call.
The problem is we tried this once using our police force.
Oh, yeah, we
to
can't
to
do
do this work to try to save the money, but
No, they're too.
it was somewhat of a disaster. So we're without another option. They're
Yeah.
the only
That-
option.
that's the issue. There
Yeah.
is no other option out there.
Well, in our situation where we are called and we
Mhm.
have a dog cage, and we held a dog for a while
Yeah.
and cared for it,
Yeah.
especially if it had a collar and there was a chance we could identify the owner. And we actually have one of those machines,
Out to read
portable
the.
machine where you can
Yeah.
read the chip. So I mean, there have been times where we've successfully returned pets, but if we hit a roadblock,
Yeah.
do what we have to do and we take them to the SPCA.
Don, you do work at another township presently. What is your experience with this?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I believe, trying to remember who I spoke with, I think they are increasing the size of their facility. Maybe that has something to
Gotta
do with
pay
the
for it,
additional
then we're
cost.
paying.
And has anybody heard about that?
No.
A lot of people got pets during the pandemic, and then they got rid of the pets.
Yeah, yeah.
We've seen an increase. I have one at home. Actually, one is 10 years old, and I love them both, so it's not like we're looking at it's we've seen an increase
Right.
since the pandemic.
There's a waiting list to even drop them off for adoption. you know, but I know that's something COG's been talking about. They've been like going around the barn forever because it's just a complicated issue. And every township municipality is facing the same issues. I mean, the cost is astronomical for the services that we're given. And so that's why they're doing a lot of pilot programming and researching, how can we do it, as a, collective group, to save all municipalities money, instead of double dipping with the SPCA, because that's what they feel like is happening across the board. Everybody's getting hit hard, but less service. That's an issue.
Lisa?
Do we have to do it for 5 years? I mean,
No,
That's
that's
the,
how they work.
that's the contract. Otherwise, I think we're bound by year if we go someplace else.
where else is there
The,
to
the,
go?
the contract needs to be signed by December 15th.
Right. And our
Um,
next meeting is what, the 14th?
I don't know that we have any other options at this point.
We don't
Clear-
have any
yeah.
options.
Clearly, we don't at this point. In the termination clause, I was speaking with Ms. Camp earlier, the termination clause is you can terminate, but you would still need to pay them a year out without service. Yeah. Those termination clauses, they get you. So that's the only way to get out of it. And I guess to clarify, how much are we actually spending on this? Do we have an idea?
I don't off the top, but I can certainly.
We need the service. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
getting around that.
Yeah,
It's
that-
not a,
You wanted the veterinarian.
no, they can't handle
We really get that much?
We're billed per animal.
I think so, right?
Yeah, I think that's.
I mean, this is just a flat fee and then there's an animal cost.
We also, they used to have an alternate B contract where you just paid per animal, and I think that was double the cost of,
Yeah.
so it became even more expensive.
Wow.
So if you didn't go with their base fee. So if we've tried it different ways, and they used to have you could take the plan that they're giving you now, or you could do a per animal fee, and that fee got way out of hand.
And there's an extra charge if it's an animal abuse situation and they have to conduct an investigation. So there are additional charges in addition to just
Yeah.
taking the animals and housing them over there.
And if I'm
We're
reading
about
this correctly.
9,000 for the year.
Sorry, 9,000?
9,000.
Okay, that kind of puts it in perspective. But,
Mhm.
And they have an annual fee increase during the 5-year period of 4%.
We're getting over like a
It's like a
fat cat.
utility company.
Everybody's hurting.
In abuse cases, I think it's worth it. They need to investigate, so that is a shame. All right, commissioners, any other questions on this?
No.
No.
I mean, it's
Have any
a needed
alternatives?
service.
Right,
Unfortunately,
we
it's a
need it.
monopoly.
And
Right, residents, any comments? I do not see any hands raised here at the township building. Any online? Nope. Entertain a motion to, approve and authorize, the board president to sign a 5-year contract with Chester County SPCA.
Who moved?
Second.
So moved
we have
by
that.
Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Tindaro. And a quick third by Commissioner Evans. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's good, 5-0.
Thank you.
Wish we didn't have to use it, but needed. Needed service. All right, next we have the 2024 budget presentation, which we've all been waiting for. Maybe?
Maybe.
Ms. Swan, you want to kick it in gear?
I can kick it into gear, yes. And try to share this.
Yeah.
So tonight I'm sharing with the board and attendees the Finance Committee's 2024 proposed budget. We have several departments that are highlighted tonight. General Fund Operations, Streetlight Fund, Debt Fund Noted Projects, Fire Tax, Sewer and Trash, and finally EMS and Ambulance Services. Our general fund revenue source falls within about 8 categories, as shown here. Real estate and EIT and LST taxes are our main source of revenue. Together, that takes up about 76% of the revenue for Cowan Township. Code and planning comes to about 6%, with cable franchise fees, police services, grants, miscellaneous revenues bringing in the balance there. You can see the numbers there that will be making up the anticipated revenue for 2024. Just a pie chart, so you can kind of see where the revenue stream is coming from on a different scale there. Total revenues anticipated $9,107,463. The expense items, taking into consideration that 2024 revenue source. Public services are the bulk of our revenue, and as well as our expenses. Police department spend, they spend about 40%, or $3,577,542. Public works and life safety are about 18 and 12% respectively. Government services about 9%, interfund transfers 8%, and the remaining 13% of those expenses are made up of Parks and Rec, loan payments, contributions, and our retirement funds. And there's another way to look at that. Again, we have a balanced budget of $9,107,463. One more visual so you can see the revenues versus the expense. Earned income and real estate, again, the main sources of revenue, and public services, codes, police, and public works taking up the bulk of the expense there, well needed. We have some budgetary trends that most municipalities face. Employee retention. 2024, we hope to be fully staffed, including 2 additional police officers and 2 firefighters. Our healthcare increased about 7.2% over 2023's cost, and that again is about average for the surrounding communities. Our capital equipment capital replacement is in full swing, and again we're back on our feet with getting everything taken care of maintenance wise. We have a lot of programs that Public Works and Life Safety, as well as the police department, have followed to keep our equipment and machinery working to its fullest potential. We will be using those plans for the next 5 to 7 years, just rotating everything as it's needed. Lucky for us, the supply and demand is helping with the turnover as well. For that, our union contracts, the FOP was signed through 2025. Teamsters is underway now. Our pension costs, always an important part of the budget. The trends will continue to be on an ongoing basis there.
And just a note, there is no increase in the general fund or
I
the
was
debt
going to get
tax.
to that, but we can go ahead and say that. I know.
I was waiting for it. I didn't want you to go to the next screen without saying it.
Yes, no increase for the general fund or the debt tax fund for
There you go.
2024.
Sorry to
Happy
take
to
the
say.
thunder.
Happy to say. Also happy to say that our streetlight fees will end at the end of this year, 2023. We are underway. I think we're just about completed with our LED replacement program. And that's worked out really well. I think with the decrease, the savings in electricity, warranty program from the provider, I think it's just a great program. Not billing out that 53,000 and saving on the man hours that it takes to actually process these bills. There really is no sense in continuing on with that at all. You know, if the board has any questions or any comments as far as that goes, but there will be no more billing for streetlights next year going forward.
It's great to switch over to.
I will say that I think because we notice it, but if you're driving around town and you pull up to an intersection now, you can actually see. You know, it's not just like a hazy light; it's actual light now, so that you can see in the intersection. It was a project I worked on for many, many years to try to get to a point where we could convert them to LEDs, and it finally worked out cost-wise at the right time. The other thing is that we don't know how they came up with the numbers that they came up with, and it was not equitable across the board for each development that had the streetlight fund. So with the total cost dropping to about $20,000 in electricity fees, it just doesn't make sense anymore to bill it. And then for our staff they have to mail all this out. They have to when it comes in, they have to book all those entries. If people don't pay it, then we have to involve Portnoy, our collections agency. It becomes very onerous.
It's labor intense.
So
yeah.
now that the cost is reasonable, we'll just absorb that into the general.
Correct. And I believe that we are, I guess we're 95% complete with that. So all of the billing and everything has been done up front. There's no, once we pay that last 5% when it's complete, project is done, and we basically just reap the rewards of the electricity bills being lower for the township to pay.
And the only part left, correct me if I'm wrong, is just the decorative street lights along Lincoln Highway there.
That's correct. I did make contact with them the other day. They believe those had to be a special order. They were back ordered. They do believe they're in the warehouse, and I'm hoping to get word that they'll be completed. You know, they should be, actually, when they did come out, the changeover was fairly quick for the 95%. So I would think those would be done in like a day or two. So I'm not confident, but I'm hoping that they will be completed by the end of December. Because about the time I say that, they won't even come in.
Yeah.
They'll be like the golf carts. They're on their way.
Exactly. And that's what they told me. So I'm starting to get a little worried when he said that, 2 more weeks. Exactly.
And I'm going to ask for Ray's assistance here, the 2024 stormwater budget.
So the stormwater budget, I mean, we're really getting our feet under us and starting to lay the groundwork to have a true stormwater capital plan, but we got a long way to go. MS4 costs, you heard we just awarded another PSA for 2024. We did save almost $10,000 with switching that PSA to another company. Again, it's an unfunded mandate really, but it is important. That PSA will do public education besides all the reporting that's required to the federal government. We are anticipating about $300,000 for improvements and maintenance program, and then that would be broken down approximately $100,000 for PVing and cleaning, which again will go hand in hand with the mapping program. 120,000 for design and mapping, and then 80,000 for inspection, enforcement, and the of operation and maintenance agreements. That's one of the key things that we instituted this year, was reviewing all of our operation and maintenance agreements for all the developments and that we have, because we hadn't did that maybe ever or in a long time. We did send a lot of letters out. We got a lot of responses, and we did get compliance on most of them. So that's an important program that will continue next year. Our favorite subject for the last 2 years, IDA. We did do IDA/stormwater projects because we have said for the last 2 years, besides the projects that were identified clearly damaged or further damaged by IDA, some of them were eligible for FEMA, but we also found, as a result of the storm, we found other conveyance systems or structures that wouldn't withstand another storm that we had to put on this list and start focusing on. As you'll see, you already know most of these are completed. The Municipal Drive Bridge, Moore Road, Barley Chief, East Fisherville Road Bridge, Fisherville Stream Bank, and then the pump house that was damaged. North Bailey Road, North Barley Chief, the bioswale is in there. That was kind of we got credit from MS4, but it really was a stormwater project. The Park Drive culvert, which I think really improved that neighborhood. We'll see during the next storm, but I believe it truly did. The Geo Crossing, that's actually the wall repair that was kind of unanticipated, but that wall was actually part of the stormwater structure besides holding the road up. And then the South Lloyd Avenue Stream Bank stabilization, and that total you can see was $4.1 million. Some of the things that are still left on that list, Geo Crossing over Beaver Creek, that would be over by Beaver Run. That was again, that wasn't an IDA project, but it was clearly identified. The people on Beaver Run Road, a couple of the people in Beaver Run suffered severe damage during IDA, and it was a result of backup at the most narrow point, which were those pipes that go on under the road. Initially, we thought that project might be a couple $100,000. I forget what it was, like 300,000. It had been in design mode, and we quickly kind of changed gears and realized that whole stream bank, all the way from Geo all the way up to the bypass, now needs evaluated. So Ross is on that. He's working on a new PSA for that, and we're already started talking to the DEP about what permits will be needed, and we're looking for some potential grants because we did a placeholder of 820,000, but that project itself could be upwards of $1 million or so. The Geo Crossing Bridge repair, that was one that was already awarded. There's been a delay in that because of material. We're hoping that will start within the next couple of weeks, and that is the one on the side by the golf course where the part of that wall fell in. Humpton Lynn Williams culverts through that whole neighborhood. Again, that's been an ongoing problem for many years. During IDA, it severely taxed that area. Same thing as the Beaver Creek crossing. That was in evaluation for several months, and we really took another turn there because the more we evaluated, more it looks like the stream bank's going to need stabilized in between all those culverts. Again, we're showing about 797, 600. By the time we get a PSA, a full PSA, it could be upwards of $1 million as well. Glencrest Stormwater, we've been doing repairs. Public Works has replaced several inlets and several sticks of pipe in that development, and but we've also recognized that every time we turn around, some of that system is failing. Again, a very rough estimate is about $431,000 to do the work that's needed in there. At this point, we don't have a PSA, but we're going to start working on that. And then same with 40 Bailey Road. That's actually downstream from the Geo Carlson Bridge repair that we were discussing that was awarded already. This is definitely not me.
We have a couple other projects on the capital end for 2024. I believe the board is pretty in tune with talking about these and the progression of each of these moving forward. Beaver Creek Trail, Abby Swan is on vacation this week, but she's been a key part with this, along with, I believe it's Gilmore, to figure out the cost effectiveness for each of the segments and phases for Beaver Creek Trail. 2024, $70,000 will be put aside with a $50,000 grant. So that's definitely a big help on that. Municipal Park feasible study, also something that has been in the works for a couple of years now. Just to do the study, get it done so that the park can be again at its full potential. The 2024 road program, we spoke about that earlier, that $409,000 will be 100% drawn from the state aid liquid fuels fund. We're working with Gilmore on that also to rate the roads and come up with the program for that. Our capital equipment, equipment capital replacement program, again, as we said, is underway with all of the departments to make sure that everything is kept in good shape and usable and replaced when it's necessary. Our big project, Reed Street, is about $1.27 million. We are getting a total of $918,000 in grant. That's huge to get this done. Hopefully we'll be within budget for that. And on to fire tax. Ask for some help here.
Yeah, I would actually ask Chief Taylor to come up and kick that off.
Yeah, so I get the thing started at me. So we've spent probably a lot of years discussing with the board about the state of the fire company and basically the future of the volunteer fire service. And I mean, this goes for any volunteer entity. The decrease in volunteers that there are today, the volunteer fire service is obviously right up there with the decrease. I know it's tougher and tougher with people doing, well, 40 hours a week is now a part-time job, it seems like. But to have a full-time job, the firehouse is a second or third, sometimes full-time job as well. So obviously we need to be doing training, things like that. So we're pretty much, many of us and the folks sitting beside me to my right, I know the folks on Zoom can't see, but probably spend almost 7 days a week at that firehouse doing something, whether it's training, running calls, community events, you name it. I mean, in 2022 alone, I think in 365 days, I think it's a little over 8,000 hours. In 2022 alone, Thorndale Fire Company members spent about 6,700 hours. So it's a big demand. And so before I continue, so obviously to staff or to supplement the volunteerism, there is a need to hire the full-time staffing for the fire department.
Absolutely.
We have an obligation to the residents. They expect when they are having the worst day of their life, dialing 911, they expect a truck or whatever to show up. So it's only right that we are able to provide that high quality service to Cowan Township. And then obviously we have several other capital projects for apparatus. I know this year alone and 2022, we did purchase or approve 3 new vehicles, obviously the rescue truck, the utility tonight, and then a command vehicle. The traffic unit that we currently have is set for replacement in 2028, so that's going to be upcoming. And unfortunately, another big ticket item, our engine, which Josh remembers all the planning that we spent in 2012 and 13 and 14 for that. Believe it or not, that's going to be coming due for replacement in 2034, which is just right around the corner, unfortunately. The backlog that we talked about last month for the rescue truck. We definitely need to plan sooner. So the need to fund the apparatus replacement is crucial.
What's an engine going for these days?
So an engine probably can range anywhere from 900,000 to probably close to the 1.2 million dollars. To put it in perspective, when we purchased the engine when we signed the contract in 2014, that was $500,000.
Yeah.
So fast forward 10 years, and unfortunately, nothing's getting cheaper. I just want to, keeping with the education. So Thorndale's always kind of been a little ahead of things a little bit. So starting in the mid to late 80s, the fire company actually funded basically a full-time paid driver, and funded that up until right about 2004. And then the township kind of took over the funding for that full-time person. That was big to ensure, obviously, we do have at least a driver. We do rely heavily on our mutual aid, but even we're all in the same boat. We're all being overtaxed. Said it loosely, but we're being basically overworked. That's probably a better word. So I apologize. No pun intended there.
That's good.
But so, and then in 2012, when the full-time person duties expanded greatly at the need of the township, right around that 2012 timeframe, through the instituted fire tax, we were able to hire per diem staff, or part-time, starting in 2012, that were the fire company employees, but it was funded through the fire tax at the time. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, what were other municipalities, other areas, they're in the same boat. They're looking for that full-time firefighter, things like that. So many of our per diem staff today are hired full-time somewhere else. Overtime's offered, so we have some open shifts. And while I say some, we have a fair amount. Luckily, myself included, kind of our full-time job, we work from home. And many other folks, again, I have several sitting behind me, really step up to the plate to ensure that, again, a fire truck hits the street when you guys, residents, business owners, and visitors call 911. So again, kudos to the crew for picking that up. But again, it gets to be a lot, especially this month.
Oh yeah.
I've seen on Facebook countless times. I hear sirens again. I think since last Monday, we're pushing almost 30 calls since last Monday. That's kind of unheard of for Thorndale, rather. We kind of average one a day, but it's significantly increased. Obviously, I touched on the decreasing call or the volunteerism. It takes a lot of training hours to get levels, things like that. By no means are we trying to we're not waving the white flag and getting rid of volunteerism. I love what I do. I'm sure if you ask anyone sitting behind me, they'll say the same thing. But with families, work, like I said, costs of living are rising, so people are having to get part-time jobs. It's just a big commitment, unfortunately. And the increased call volume, I do want to touch on that. So 10 years ago, we were just shy of 400 calls. Fast forward 10 years to 2022, we were a little over about 540 calls. So that's an increase of 36%. And for 2023, we'll probably see very, very close to that, as we see more people travel our roadways, our railways. You have whatever the building and other municipalities, everybody is coming to Callan Township. We're the focal point, the transportation hub with the 30 bypass. So our call volume is not going down by any stretch. And we need to be ready for everything. One point that I always like to tell residents when we're at Callan Community Day or things like that, when we talk about the support or basically what the fire tax does. So yes, it does support the fire company and pays for things, our fuel, our maintenance. But one of the things that kind of blows people away is we touched on the hydrants and things like that we have in Calhoun Township earlier in the meeting. That accounts for 25% of the fire budget expenditure. We have to pay for that, and that's not cheap. 2020, our fees were roughly $52,000. For 2024, we're anticipating $126,000 just for a hydrant that may or may not be used that year, hopefully ever. But that is a huge expense, 25% of our budget that goes to that. Now we're hoping as we get this new apparatus in, our maintenance budget might be able to be lower just a hair, but unfortunately it remains pretty high as well for our aging apparatus.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Chief, I'll touch on that. So to that point, again, the commissioners know we've been having this conversation and for the last couple of years and deeply probably for the last year on how we're going to, help increase career staffing to supplement the volunteers. The staffing proposal that we're putting before you now is in 2024 to transition the part-time staff that already is working for the fire company that would come over and would be supervised by us, and we would start managing that and paying for that cost. At the same time, 2 full-time firefighters to supplement the volunteers. One of those would cover a day shift and one would cover a night shift. The important Monday through Friday at this point. The importance of that is the chief here, because of the limited staffing they have, the chief has to go in the evenings, has to go to the firehouse to drive the apparatus and operate the apparatus between 30 and 40% of the time. That's not how it should be. The fire chief should be going providing command functions, but just because of the nature of what volunteers are around and what their capabilities are, he's going to the firehouse and driving. So it's time to start, getting some paid staff in the evening so they can take care of that responsibility. So that's what we're shooting for in 2024. We did do a proposal out 2025 and 2026, being 25 to hire another one, which would be 3, and 26 to hire another one, which would be 4. The reason for that is even with 4, there's going to be open shifts. There's going to be a lot of open shifts. There's people get vacation, they could get sick, whatever the case may be. The other thing is if we're trying to follow national trends and national requirements, you really should have 4 people on an engine when they respond to a call. So at least if there's 2 people per shift by 2026, which would be our goal, at least you have 2 people to start with. And hopefully, we'd be supplemented by the volunteers in the evening and some during the day, during the daytime also. And we have some of the fire marshal staff that works for me that we could respond and assist in that function as well. Can you go back to that other slide? No, back one. So to get that staffing level, we had a lot of conversations about, how do we get that funding and how do we get to that funding to a certain point so that every year you don't have to increase taxes. What we're proposing is the current fire tax right now is 0.6 mil, which is $105 on average a household. The proposal would be raised it to 0.88 mils, which would net on average $132 per home, which would be an average increase, obviously, of $27 a household. Could you go to the next slide? Back to the chief's point, you kind of see, which is, everything he just talked about. It kind of shows where the money from the fire tax is being spent, starting in 2023. And you see hydrant costs are probably one of the highest costs. Other than that support goes to the fire company for a multitude of different things. And then as you go into 24, obviously, just like any other service, staffing becomes the highest cost there. And then that trend just keeps traveling through.
I think a good point too, like the chief said earlier, you know, we were ahead of the curve, you know, funding a fire tax. We created a system that, you know, we thought was the best at the time, not to have township employees, because once we hire these people, we will have to put them through civil service under the first class code. So it just becomes an onerous process, but it worked while it worked, but it doesn't work anymore. And the onus is on the fire chief, who is a volunteer, to try to manage people when they're working, and try to round up all these people to make sure they're showing up for their shifts and filling holes in the shifts. And it's hard for them to do as a volunteer. And, you know, we recognize that it's getting harder and harder. I know that Chief Cordisco had issues trying to keep everybody on the schedule and keep the schedule full. And then Chief Donachi had his same issues, and we're running into it now. So I think that the best thing is for us to have career staff that, you know, we know that somebody's going to respond when that call comes in.
And to your point as well, I mean, the nice thing is that now, again, the volunteer chief can focus on the things that the volunteer chief should be focused on, as opposed, like you said, getting those phone calls at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. There's going to be no staff, you know. At least this way, my department, you know, has full-time staff. That's what we get paid for, is to worry about that schedule, try to fill those shifts. If we can't fill them, then, you know, one of my staff from the fire marshal's office will have to fill those shifts as best we can until we get enough staff to assure that occurs on a regular basis. You know, all this is being done in cooperation with the fire company, not separate from the fire company. You know, I do want to make that point. This is definitely a cooperative effort, and it can't work without cooperation from both sides.
Well, let me just make a couple comments here. One, you know, volunteer issues, I mean, that's just not Count Township. That is statewide, nationwide. Everyone's having issues trying to get the volunteers. This introduction or, you know, increase in the fire tax is really to support our fire department. One of the main concerns of the commissioners here, is the health and safety of our residents. Okay, our police force, our fire, our EMS, that is what keeps our people safe. And this is investment into our residents. So, strong believer that we do need to do this increase. And this is a mild increase. I mean, the average is a $27 a year increase at this point. I know future, you know, down the road, we're gonna have to do some more, but I believe this is a great start.
And as a township resident myself, I mean, I'm impacted. Majority of the folks, again, to my side, they're impacted as well. But we need to maintain that high quality service to Township. You don't need us until you need us, unfortunately. We hope you never do. Or if you do, it's a cooking mishap that set off your fire alarm. So something minor, which happens a lot. Dinner's ready. But like I said, it's just, unfortunately, it's something that needs to be there. And we appreciate residents and board support of this.
It is worth noting just one more thing. I mean, it's a huge credit to the volunteers. Most of the volunteers sitting here live here, so they're asking you to find the funding that they're going to pay, yet they're still going to volunteer. So that says a lot.
It does.
Says a lot about.
And to Paul's point, police, I would say the board is in an entirety. Police, fire, and EMS are just non-negotiable items. They're absolutely a necessity. And like Chief Taylor said, you don't need them till you need them. But when you need them, you really need them. And you need them to respond in a timely manner that, you know, keeps you safe and our properties safe.
I agree that this money can't be any better spent than this. And you're all volunteers here, right?
The only one who, well, Ryan's somewhere else, but
Right.
he's a volunteer in
Everyone else.
Westchester.
Thank you all.
But everybody else,
Thank you.
Thank you.
EMS, I mean, they do volunteer outside of Minquist.
Wow.
Wow.
He does volunteer at Minquist. So
Oh,
just
wow.
because we might work full time somewhere, we still want to give back.
Yeah.
But I encourage between now and time, please ask any questions. Email me, call me, whatever. That goes for residents too. Please ask questions. We're more than happy to educate what we are, what we do.
You save lives, that's what you do.
Well,
So,
we try, yes.
yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Patrick.
much, Pat.
Commissioners, in your booklets, there's a bigger breakdown of
Yes.
the funding, where that's all going to. And I believe our last slide, or next to the last slide, oh no, we've got a lot more to go. EMS,
Only a few more.
for Callan
Yes.
Township, an effective and efficient EMS system is essential to reducing injury and mortality in our community.
So I'm going to take this one. This was, on our minds that in the future we would probably need this. It has come a little quicker than we originally had thought. About 6 weeks ago, the chief of EMS at Minquist had come to the finance committee and asked for around $57,000 to fund the EMS program. This year, in 2023, we donated $30,000. So they had asked for 57,000, and then eventually moving into the hundreds of thousands in a few years out. Since that, about 4 weeks ago, the chief of EMS left Minquist, and it was relayed to us that their finances were more precarious than the chief had led us to believe. So Joel and Matt from Minquist came and met with myself and Paul and presented a new ask in order to stabilize their finances. That ask was about $414,000 in order to make sure that their services were still available to Callan Township. I know that some people are here from Minquist. If you guys want to elaborate at all on what you're doing to stabilize those finances, and and then I'll continue on what our plan is forward. So I don't know if Joel, if you want to say anything.
A lot has been taking place over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Obviously, I oversaw the ambulance operations administration twice for about 10 years. I've been away from it for about 5 years. So I was asked to step in when we saw those financial issues taking place. So I stepped in with the help of Matt and Derek here. We've made leaps and bounds over the last 4 or 5 weeks to try to turn our situation around. We were able to reduce payroll. We were able to, we're in the process right now of selling a couple of our ambulances and some of our equipment, which were not needed and don't affect our quality of care to our patients. We still have the same amount of ambulances, same amount of places. We have one in Callan Township, 24 hours a day, one in Downingtown, 24 hours a day. We have another ambulance set up as a floater, which in the event that a call comes in Callan Township, the floater, if it's in Downingtown, relocates to Callan Township. That brings another ambulance up to this area. Obviously, I'm a resident of Callan Township, so I want to make sure everything's taken care of too. And when I saw the fire tax increase, I said, well, last time when I just moved into township a year ago, I was probably the first guy who signed a check to send it in, because it's that critical. And I know these guys, I know many of them. I'm getting a little bit too old to drive an engine, but I do once in a while when I really need it. But I know they're going to be there, and I know it's professionalism all the way, and they're going to have the right equipment to do the job. An ambulance today, you could spend completely outfitted $400,000 or $500,000 for an ambulance. Boy, these guys, I appreciate they go on 30 calls in a matter of maybe a week or two's time. Callan Township, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 calls a month in Cowan Township. Unfortunately, when I joined the ambulance many years ago, we were 95% volunteer, 5% career staff. Now we're 95% career staff, 5% volunteer. With that comes benefits, salaries, IRA contributions, just like any other business is. So we took, and we're in the process right now. We're working with East Cowan, the borough, Cowan Township, East Brandywine, to try to come up with a real solid budget to present to you. We have so many different items that we're trying to work on right now that we hope to have everything together within the next week, 10 days. But we feel we've turned the corner. And where we were in a financial desperate type of situation, by just making a few changes, doing some things with personnel wise, nobody lost their job. We had a couple people who resigned and choose to move on. But we were able to turn the corner. We're getting our bills paid, our staff is being paid, and we feel we're on the way up. With that comes obviously contributions from the municipalities. And I believe I talked to you about it, but to just enlighten the other commissioners, that we have our ambulance club, which many ambulance companies do. You can contribute $60, $70 depending upon senior citizen, whatever. So what you pay that to our ambulance club, you don't have to be responsible. You're not responsible for another financial dollar out of your pocket. So it doesn't matter if you get taken to the hospital 15 times in a year span. Once you pay that ambulance club membership, you're good. A lot of people say, well, I got your bill, it was $2,200. I passed it on to the insurance company. Well, that's all well and good. If you're a Medicare patient, we may have used $500 worth of medications on that particular call for you, between the travel time now, because Brandywine Hospital closed up. So now we're traveling to Paoli, Chester County. It used to be a 1-hour trip for our staff, our crews, now turning into 2 and 3 hour trips because they're actually sitting outside of the emergency departments. There's no rooms in the emergency department. Our staff is taking care of patients in the back of an ambulance until a bed frees up. So now we just tripled our time span where we could be somewhere else. So that's really been a major impact on us also. But for that person who may be on Medicare, such as myself, if I pay my $60 to the ambulance club and my bill is technically $2,200, which could possibly be, Medicare does us a big favor, and they give us $144. Now, $144, I paid my membership, so there's nothing else there that I'm required to pay. If we're lucky, there's another insurance company that they may have, that we may be able to, a third party, get some sort of funds back. But the bottom line is that almost every call we go on to help people, we lose money. And it's the nature through Chester County, through the state of Pennsylvania. It's just the way it is. And unfortunately, volunteers, where it used to be 140 hours to go to EMT class, now it's 200-300 hours worth of training. Where volunteers, and I appreciate these guys because I know I'm one of them. They have the opportunity, if something comes up and they can't make it to the fire, they can't make it. We have to be there with our staff 24 hours a day, ready for when people come. And I talked to the borough of Downingtown a couple weeks ago, and I said it's interesting because 100 years ago, Midwest Ambulance volunteers built their first ambulance, and it's been 100 years this year, and we've been here for the community for 100 years. We certainly hope to continue that. We hope you can work with us. We're doing everything in our power. These two guys are amazing. All they do is spend every waking moment of their time trying to make everything work for us. So, we hope you continue, supporting us, and we'll do our best and get as much information for you as we possibly can.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we are working with the Borough of Downingtown and East Callan in order to help stabilize Minquist and make sure that they're available, because if we don't fund them and they're not able to continue service, the strain on the system may be too great and cause collapse other places as well. So, we're working collaboratively with our neighbors to the east. We are working on some issues that we're going to iron out over the next couple of weeks before the first of the year, hopefully. But this new tax on the tax bill would generate about 157,000 just through the EMS tax. To be clear, there is also a budgeted item in the general fund of another $97,000 for EMS should we need that. So there is in both the general fund and the EMS fund, there will be. When the budget committee met, we didn't feel that it was appropriate to right away go to a full tax rate. We wanted to lessen the blow to our citizens, but at the same time signal to us and to our neighbors to the east that we're ready to support and make sure that we have an ambulance service, whether that is Minquist or another entity. We've done some homework on if Minquist, at the point we didn't know if they were going to be able to sort out their finances. We've reached out to other places, and no matter where we go, the funding is needed at that about $400,000 level. So, we put together what we thought was the best plan and the best way to try to begin to fund this without having a large hit to our residents. So for the average assessed home, this would increase your tax bill for the year of $30. So if you think about that, that's probably, depending on what you get, 4 Starbucks for the year, on the average home. Some homes will be more, some will be less, but we cannot allow the collapse of ambulance services in western part of Chester County. So we're going to do what we need to do to make sure that the service is there and that it's funded so that when you make that call to 911, somebody answers and somebody answers quickly.
So what you're saying is that for the price of $57 a year to the average homeowner, we're going to improve our fire and ambulance services.
Correct.
Sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Now, again, that's an average home of
Average,
150,000.
yes. Right.
So there will be differences in price, but we like I said earlier and Paul said earlier, fire, police, and EMS are just non-negotiable items for us, and we need to make sure they're there and that they last.
Yeah.
If you could just
Up
come
to
up
the
to the
microphone.
mic.
Yep, thank you.
Yesterday, Matt Wagner and myself met with Mr. Stackhouse, and he had a very good suggestion. And he said, if we're going to, which we will be, revamping our entire EMS committee, we're going to be bringing business people in to oversee the operation. Ray suggested possibly a representative actually from Callan Township and a couple of the other municipalities sit on that board. We certainly would be welcome to that. If that comes to fruition.
Yeah, and that's some of the items that we're discussing and talking about formal contracts and things like that, so that if we're giving money to a service, we want to make sure they're operating right and they're spending the money correctly. Just as when we created the fire tax, we created the fire board, and one member of this board sits on that just to oversee how our money is spent and how the money is budgeted.
Believe me, I know. I was a township supervisor for 17 years before I moved to Callan Township. But I know what you. I just thought I would want to make sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it should be noted, EMS tax is not something new. A lot of townships are either starting it or increasing theirs to support EMS services.
And I'll just point out too, this is 0.2 mil. The max, I believe, under the first class code is half a mil. So that is the max that can be taxed for EMS.
Touch on this again. You're suggesting 16 cents a
You're
day
doing the math, okay.
per resident. Under $4, under $5 a month.
Okay.
That's, that's pretty good.
So thank you.
your life,
I'll
yeah.
hand it back over to Lisa.
All right, Lisa.
Thank you.
Moving on to solid waste. Again, our township is at the mercy of haulers and their rates are increasing, as well as the rising cost of disposal fees. Expenses show an increase of about 9% over 2023, and expenses will be as high as about 12% over last year for other expenses as well. Do you want to
Yeah,
say
just-
anything, Paul? Or
Yeah, one thing on the over the last couple of years, we've tried to keep the rate low, and we have used reserves to buffer that cost for people. The problem is this is the last year of our contract, and that what we're looking at for next year might be significantly more than this contract, which was already more than the previous contract, a significant more. This year we're not using reserves because we might need them for next year to buffer whatever cost comes. So this takes us up to the full rate without the need for any additional funding.
So the 2024 trash bill will show an increase, $8 per invoice, billed out 6 times a year for $48 increase for the year. This should hopefully generate about $270,000 to offset that trash removal for the township. Sewer operations. Components we have to deal with for 2024 are, again, increasing costs for our DARA, about 12% over last year. Decrease in PA water of about 6%. Liability insurance increasing at 12.5, and again, hauling cost, disposal fees, as well as I&I projects that the sewer companies' DARA treatment costs have. The rate increase here will be $2 per invoice, again, 6 times a year, or $12 per year. This will generate about $134,000, and again, that is just basically offsetting costs for the contracts that we have.
Paul, do you want to talk to about the decrease? Because it's not a decrease in treatment costs.
No, it's just a decrease in flows. With our pump station, we are able to max out our flows over to the DARA, which of course is a cheaper cost for treatment. So that is the benefit of our pumping station. So we've just been able to control that better, because unfortunately over at DARA it's about $2.50 per 1,000 gallons, and PAWC is what, $14.50, something around there. So huge difference.
And that's at about 1.4 million gallons. That's huge. Huge.
Yes. So that's why we're trying to control as much as possible on that. And just to make note, everyone does receive their invoice every 2 months with a combination of trash and sewer. So we kind of rounded it up to a $10 increase per bill. $8 is going towards your trash, $2 for the sewer, even though sewer always gets blamed for it. And that's fine, you can call Scott. But unfortunately, these are just costs that are just passed along to the residents. There is no profit to be made.
That concludes that. This is the proposed budget. Will be available hopefully on the website, and we'll have copies at the front desk here. The proposed budget will be advertised no later than December 4th, and the budget adoption is set for Thursday, December 14th. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. my email address, phone number.
So it needs to be posted or advertised for 10 days?
I thought it was 20 days.
Thought it was
20 days just needs to be made available, so we'll put it on our website and have it out here. 10 days needs to be advertised, so that would be December 4th.
Okay. Clarification.
It needs to be available for inspection for 20 days.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that is all I have. Thank you for
Very
your
welcome.
time.
Thank you.
And I would like to thank Josh, Lisa, Ray, all the department heads, all the time involved in putting this together.
Yeah.
Lisa is not a pro at the PowerPoint presentation,
My first
but
PowerPoint.
it's your first one. But I think she did an
Awesome.
excellent job. It explained it explained what we needed. So, Josh, I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah. We
you
won't
know,
see each other 4
it's
nights a week now.
It's like we've seen each other 3 to 4 nights a week, for like 2 months, 3 months.
And just to add, you know, myself and Paul go over with the staff line by line, and we question everything. Sometimes I think it annoys some people, but you know that's what our job is. So I think by the time that the budget gets to the budget committee, the staff here has gone over every line item in their budget and made sure that they are only putting in things there that benefit our residents and benefit the ability of this township to run. So, you know, to our staff who, you know, in this time we didn't have a manager, every one of the department heads and everybody stepped up to the plate and really did an awesome job in putting this together without someone at the helm really directing that. So, and just thank you to the staff for all your hard work and spending 4 nights a week with us and listening to my phone calls 3 or 4 times a day. So, thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes finance.
All right.
Should we open up for questions? Yes, we do have a hand raised here in the township building. Up to the mic.
Hi, everybody. Alicia Carini, 103 Airwood Drive.
Hi, Alicia.
So, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say I'm really happy to pay this increase in taxes for the increased support that we're going to give to our really important service members here. So, thank you very much. I remember in the past, and I don't know if it was during the budget presentation, but I remember seeing a slide that broke out the municipal taxes versus our school taxes. And I think it's really important that we bring that front and center for our residents because we are going to hear people talk about this increase. I can't say it's high or low because that's all relative to your income, but I really think it's important context for people to continue to see that the bulk of our taxes are really going to the school district and not to the municipality. So
true.
I believe it's 88% in Callan, I
yes,
believe.
it's important that everybody sees those numbers and we see them often. And it's not something we can change today, but to me, if there's something I want to get passionate about, that would be the area that I'd want to get passionate about with taxes, not for our service here. So if we can ever get those numbers, I would love to see them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll
Alicia,
have them
thank
for
you.
you next week. Yep.
Thank you.
Other hand. Oh, we do have another hand raised here. Chris, come on up.
No, you can't have a refund on the street light.
That's what I came up to say. Bruce Parr, 582 Lloyd Avenue. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Commissioner Young. I'm saving $105 this year. I can take it out of my January budget. So I'm thrilled, and I know my neighbors will be, particularly the ones on the corners, that's how they were, it was their front footage. That's how they would be charged, and some of them were paying close to $300 a year. So I really appreciate that. And I want to say thank you to the fire and medical. I'm a nurse. I worked at Brandywine Hospital. I know what it's like to get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have a trauma and you're scrambling for staff. And so I really thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Chris. Hey, Denise, anyone online?
Yes, Mark DeYoung.
Yes, Mark.
Hello. First of all, I want to say to Abby, if that's your first PowerPoint presentation, you're outstanding.
Thank you. Thank you.
Or Lisa, I'm sorry, it's Lisa.
Lisa,
I'm sorry. And second of all, the increases to fire, the ambulance, the police, we definitely have to always support that, and 100%. So, the only question is, and it may not be available right now, is the money that we spent on the $8.1 million tax increase to what we spent so far, and where do we stand fiscally as far as all those projects go? It might be a hard question to answer right now.
No. We asked Ray to be prepared.
Yeah, I think it was in the slide, right?
Yeah.
It was four.
Yeah, 4.2 million, I believe.
Yeah, $4.19 million has been spent so far.
That's
And how much of that do we expect back from FEMA and PEMA?
You know, Mark, I would love to be able to give you that answer.
I knew that was a wrong question.
But almost 3 years later, and I still can't give you the answer. I actually had a meeting 3 weeks ago with like 6 people from FEMA to review each project that's already completed and those costs. And at that point, we were going over a rough draft of what they thought was the approved cost, their approved cost. Because you remember, we've said from the very beginning, FEMA only pays to bring that particular project back to pre-IDA conditions. Every project we did, we didn't just do back to pre-IDA conditions because that would have been ridiculous because they failed for a reason. So they have to get through that process first, tell me what they're not going to pay for, and then we argue and fight for hazard mitigation to address the additional costs above and beyond what it was pre-IDA conditions. So that's the stage I'm in now. They're hoping to get me something in the next 2 or 3 weeks to tell me what was approved cost, and then we'll start arguing about what is hazard mitigation.
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that answer, and I understand bureaucracy and wish you the best. And thank you.
Yeah, I need it. Trust me, working.
It's not going to be easy, I'm sure.
And Mark, just so you know, on the next page or the next slide after that 4.1 million of completed projects, that's the ones that Ray went over, like Geo Carlson, Beaver Creek Crossing, Geo Carlson Bridge Repair, Humpton Lynn, Williams Culverts, Glencrest Stormwater, and 40 Bailey Road. They will probably exceed the 8 million that we borrowed by the time that we get to bidding.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. Any other hands raised?
Oh, wait.
No?
Do we want to jump back to the advertising?
Back to item number 1 and 2. All right, so we have a ordinance here. Consideration to authorize the advertisement of ordinance 2023-07. This is adopting the real estate tax rate for 2024 at 4.088 mils. The tax purpose of purchasing, maintaining, and operating fire apparatus for fire protection for 2024 at 0.88 mils. The tax sufficient for paying interest and principal and indebtedness of the township for 2024 at 0.44, and impose a new tax for the purpose of supporting ambulance, rescue, and other emergency services in the amount of 0.2 mils.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Evans. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's good, 5-0. And the second one, consideration to authorize the advertisement of ordinance 2023-08, adopting the 2024 budget for all funds.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Evans. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion's good, 5-0. Advertise away.
Thank you.
Lisa, thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Lisa.
Good job.
Go home and go to bed. Take tomorrow off.
Take Saturday. You gotta admit, she'll answer your emails at 1 in the morning, or
that's-
she
Oh my
does.
gosh.
She does.
Wow, God bless you.
And we know because we emailed her.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say that, but yeah.
Good.
I think it was at 3 in the morning. I woke up for something and I emailed you, didn't I? It's just something was on my.
Either an email or a text. Luckily, you don't phone.
Yeah.
3.
I have to draw the line somewhere.
All right, so this is not meat
You are
and
back to
potatoes, but
boards and commissions.
yep, let's get through this. Park and Rec, we'll start with you.
This is the cake and coffee.
The cake and coffee, not meat and potatoes.
Okay, right now what we're doing is preparing for the township festivities for Christmas holiday. And it's going to begin on Sunday, December 5th at 5 o'clock, when we'll have the tree lighting service here at the Municipal Drive. It's going to be hosted by the Rotary Club. They'll be providing refreshments. We'll have caroling by the Maestro Singers from the Coatesville High School. Bonfire this year with s'mores for all the little kids and big kids. And a special visit from Jolly Old Santa, thanks to the Thorndale Fire Company. Also, there might be other special treats and events. They just keep coming in. So we're looking for all the families to come out, and, you know, everybody worked all year, and it's a time just to come together and just enjoy one another as we close out this year and all the many accomplishments and successes we had throughout the township. We just want to celebrate. We also are hosting the annual holiday decorating contest.
Oh, yeah.
So look, watch for the website. Judging will be on December 13th. We're hoping to also have some of our businesses included this year. And hopefully we'll be able to have street lights and festivities in the coming year. I mean, we do realize that, you know, coming down Lincoln Highway, that we provide a lot of services and businesses and retail stores and bakery stores and a lot more to come. I mean, this is the heart of between Coatesville, Downeytown. So, you know, we want to light it up. And that's some things we've heard from residents is like, why don't we have Christmas lights and why don't we have festivities? Because, you know, people spend a lot of money in our township. So that's something that, you know, we look to have in the near future. But just to get to that point, we're just going to see if we can get some of our businesses to participate this year in lighting up Lincoln Highway. So if you're out there or if you see one of the commissioners come by, you know, we're going to see if we can get them to join in the festivities this year as well. Also, mark your calendars. We're going to have our holiday party on December 8th at the Thorndale Inn. If you haven't called and given your name, it's 5 o'clock, correct? Is that right, Denise? 5 o'clock?
Yes.
Well, that's for commissions, yeah, the commission,
Right.
yeah. Commissions and staff.
And also, before I complete it, we're also collecting pajamas
Ooh.
for our little ones.
And big ones.
Are we
And
still
big
using
ones.
ours?
It's for foster kids between the ages infants through adult sizes. It's through Fostering Hope through Chester County. So if you come out that night or if you want to bring them by the township, we'll be collecting pajamas for children and adults through Fostering Hope through Chester County. That concludes my report, and I don't have any new information for COG. I was not able to attend the last meeting. Thank you.
All right, next, Municipal Authority, not much happening. 2023 grouting project is continuing the work on our Phase 5, the mainline clean and TV grouting project. That's east of Lloyd Avenue behind the Beaver Creek School. And as far as Dara, Dara's moving forward with the modernization program and the upgrades. to the plant, working with their engineer on the pre-design, including site survey, pipe locations, and refine project scope. Still hoping for upgrades to that system since it's cheaper to send
Yeah.
our flows there. All right. Fire board, we are presently trying to schedule our fourth quarter meeting. So hopefully we'll have that sometime between now and maybe before December 14th. All right, next, historical.
PJs. The Historical Commission last met on October 18th. We had a quorum with 11 members present. It was a fun meeting and all subcommittees reported. We heard updates on the potential for a 501c3 nonprofit, as well as on our annual report, which is due to the board in Q1 2024. Leah Jennings has accepted the request to stay on for another term. The great Paul Stevens, our former chair, had to decline because he will be moving out of state, probably in January. We discussed the Hometown Heritage Marker Grants program and voted to apply for these no-match grants. We were between they're beautiful signs. I mean, they're really legit. We discussed, we were leaning towards the Hexagonal Schoolhouse or Spackman Davis Farm for the first submission, but we have a wealth of historical data on hand for the farm and not so much on the schoolhouse, so we'll be applying for the farm. Dawn Cullen and Jamie Evans presented a commemorative coin from the 1968 town centennial that had been left at the schoolhouse in an envelope from the secretary of Westchester Friends meeting, who had found it in their archives. We voted to have it kept on display at the Town Museum at the old town meeting house that Old Town Historical Society maintains. Our November meeting would have been yesterday, but we canceled. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, December 20th by a Zoom at 7 p.m. or live here. We're actually more fun live. We're a fun group. We like to get things done. Please consider coming to one of our meetings, and please consider joining Parks and Rec. Without their help, our historic events would not be possible. They meet the first Monday of each month. That's it.
And also, I forgot to mention that the Historical Commission, they're also going to be giving tours of the schoolhouse.
Oh, yes.
Doing the Christmas tree lighting event. They'll be there. Schoolhouse will be open. It's always fun stuff.
I always love going.
Oh, I want to just tag something on Parks and Rec, what Jane was saying. Yeah, last night, I'm not usually out at night, and I drove Lincoln Highway, not the bypass, Lincoln Highway, from Wayne home. And let me tell you, all the little hamlets, all of those villages had beautiful lights going on their business. And it's the businesses that did that.
Yeah.
The businesses are investing and saying, hey, here we are. So let's go out and get those businesses. And
Okay,
if you're
Don,
a business owner, get some lights.
Yeah, I think Don's getting the point of what we want to see our Lincoln Highway look like. I know while we were trying to retrofit the lights, the street lights, we were hoping to get some plugs to be able to put up some wreaths.
Yeah.
That was one of our hopeful projects.
Yeah.
But yeah, that by this time next year, we're going to be looking sharp. Pencil that in. Right.
Golf.
No, I haven't gotten to golf yet.
Sorry.
Before I get to Lincoln Highway, I need to play off of Mark and just say the sewer commission, municipal authority, we're a fun group too. We would love to have people show up. Tom showed up once or twice.
Not sure what time.
But come to our meetings. We're a blast.
That's at the old meeting here.
There's a lot of pressure there.
Hey, next to police, fire, and EMS, you guys are the most important thing in the township.
The only time people call us is when they can't flush. All All right, moving on to Lincoln Highway. Sorry, I had to do a plug.
Come back. So I did see it somewhere.
Well,
Lincoln Highway, yep.
I'll be
Lincoln
real quick. I have no report.
Okay, no report.
We're gonna
Lincoln
start up in the
Highway.
new year.
Lorraine, do we have golf? There you go.
Yes.
I'm throwing it out there.
The golf carts are coming.
They'll be here by Christmas, right?
That's the
They're with
famous
those lights,
last
right?
words
Yeah.
of the company that is bringing us the golf carts. We're also working on the irrigation system that is greatly needed. Nicole has been wonderful. She's been doing a lot of the work herself. I don't know how she does it, but she does. We have to aerate, seed, and sand many, many acres of land to bring the golf course back to its normal.
Luster. Let's
Thank
use
you.
the word luster.
Luster. We also hired 4 new people for the golf course. And another little note, December 5th, we have another event, which I'm not sure if we spoke about earlier, but it's the
Old Town Historical Society is having their
candlelight
program.
candlelight program.
At
I'm
the
not
old
sure of the time, but
6
it's up
o'clock,
at,
I believe.
pardon?
I think it's at 6 o'clock.
7?
7. 7.
7 o'clock, okay, 7 o'clock, and that's another nice event. They have the Meister Singers and a lot of other talented people. At the end of it, there are refreshments that are served. So it is a fun evening. If you get a chance to come, it would be great to see everybody. And thank you very much. We'll have more on the course of the golf carts. Take care.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Additional business. Any at this time?
Excuse me, I have a question, Ray. Do you know why the Family Dollar store was closed? It was just a lot of postings that they were closed.
Yep.
They closed them down for
What?
code violations or some sort.
Commissioners,
That's the one
Fire
in
Marshal Ryan.
town.
So, as you know, the township conducts commercial fire inspections throughout the year for properties. So during a inspection, it was observed that the store is unfit to have occupants.
Ooh.
There was a lot of issues that was found. We were working with corporate and the store itself to get it resolved, hopefully sooner than later, but currently they are closed until those are resolved.
Oh my goodness.
Might have an answer tomorrow, might be Monday.
Wow.
Commissioners, it's worth noting that the same branch store, you know, there's multiple different of them, but
Right.
this same branch store in Coatesville City was condemned and closed almost
Wow.
at the exact same time.
Wow.
Completely unrelated to us.
Hmm.
We closed that store. I got a phone call from Coatesville City Police Fire Chief saying, "Hey, did you happen to close down, Family Dollar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can call me if you need to." He's like, "No, we had to close ours down too for
Wow.
unfortunately the same
Violations.
reason."
My goodness.
The part of the problem is, and unfortunately, we've closed several down over the years.
Mhm.
They don't have enough staff. They send products by the tractor and trailer load to these stores and force them to take the product in.
Oh.
And usually, if it's not our commercial fire inspections catching it, it's residents calling us around almost every holiday and saying we can't even walk through the store.
'Cause of
And
boxes.
and we go, you know, the first thing we do is go and we try to make contact with whoever's working. And a lot of times there's literally one person working.
Right.
And usually we tell them, listen, you have an hour, I'll come back in an hour. And there's just no way they can accomplish it. So unfortunately, we have to condemn the store for being unsafe, close it up. The only thing that seems to get them to take action and send additional people is that they're losing revenue because people can't come into the store. but it was definitely Ryan's fault.
Okay.
Brian.
Thanks for the
Boy,
update.
oh, boy.
All right, no additional business. Public comment. Any public comment at this time? Yes, Patrick.
This is more since I don't have a fire department report, but Santa is also coming back to the township December 9th. On the fire truck, will be out. So since we don't have the November 30th meeting, I won't be able to say it before we do the event. So there is a Facebook event. So I just want to get that plug out there.
Thank you.
Okay.
That
Thank
Saturday
you.
morning, waking everyone up.
Oh,
Some people like it.
Yeah.
Jingle bells.
Does Santa have doggy biscuits?
They do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, doggy biscuits.
You'll
Good,
be- you'll be-
good. I'll be bringing my dogs out.
I thought you
Hey, if you got ice cream on it. All right, any other public comment? None here?
Yeah.
On Zoom World? Nothing? All right, well, entertain a motion.
So
to-
moved.
So moved.
We just stay here
Moved
to
in
midnight.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.